Well, hello there, and you join us here today to look at some watch collections. Let's get into it. If you're looking for a whole bunch of watches, you will find a few just below this video. Check them out there. Also, click the watchfinder.com link in the description as it really helps. Thank you. Right then, boys, we've been mucking about with the small change. Let's step it up a notch. Let's put our cards on the table. We're going to spend $10,000 on 3 watches. Teddy, you're going to lead the way. What have you got for your sporty watch?
Okay, don't get mad at me. This is kind of a boring pick, but you know now at the beginning how I talk about forming logic with passion, and I have the Tudor Black Bay 58. Has this maybe been one of the most talked about watches in the last 5 or so years? Probably. But if you're trying to build a $10,000 watch collection, you're thinking about what's a definitive watch for around, say, 30% of my budget here that I can spend, I think the Tudor Black Bay 58 is among the best. I own the navy version. I think it's a phenomenal watch. It works in a variety of situations. The wearability is phenomenal. 39 millimeters, 47 and a half or so millimeter lug to lug. Whereas like traditional Submariners of the past, like if you like that original 20th century case of a Submariner from years prior, whether it's from Rolex or Tudor, like this embodies that amazingly. And then 200 meters. Also, what I appreciate about these watches is that you're getting an element of diversity also in the styles that you're going for. So you have different cases to choose from, dial colors to choose from. If you go for the original black version, I mean, that's going to evoke the most vintage flair. The navy version feels like a contemporary watch in many ways. Movement on the inside, 70-hour power reserve, those MT calibers, COSC certified. Is this a fatigued conversation to be having about the Tudor Black Bay? Perhaps. But does it make it a bad choice? I don't think so. I think it's one of the best watches still in its segment, even after it was released in 2018. I mean, it's great. So many choices to choose from now.
Let it be said that the watch I'm wearing right at this second is a Tudor Black Bay 58. So there you go. We can be boring together, Teddy.
Dress. Now, dress, I wanted to also think about complication when I'm building a collection. So I'm going to go with the Grand Seiko SBGM 221. So this is a piece that I was recently, and I think at the time of actually recording this, I think we just went live with a video on this. So it's kind of just top of mind. And I was just thinking about this, and like, it is such a anomaly for the price in a variety of ways. One, you're getting a movement on the inside that I would say is among its best in class in terms of getting true GMT travel functionality while getting a movement that is going to have a 72-hour power reserve. It's a great, workhorse in terms of that. But then also on the flip side, this dial is so pure. But it's strange because you think of Grand Seiko, what do people think about? They think maybe the high beats. They think of a spring drive. They think of some of these different crazy dial textures. But this doesn't have any of it. So why would you go for it? I just think it is a cerebral choice. You're getting a wearable case. It is a little bit on the thicker side, but still can be dressy. Will slide underneath cuffs, under 47 millimeter lug to lug. Only 30 meters of water resistance, but I love the way that this watch looks. That ivory dial, tempered blue, those indices are all faceted by an artisan. And you see that kind of combination of what they've done with their case finishing and combining that with just that detail that you see on these like applied markers. It's just beautiful to see with just those hands and just how this watch can tell a story with you just turning the wrist or flipping the wrist under the light, which I feel like I say all the time as a way to just describe a watch, but it is so true. If you're experiencing a watch, it's one of the first things you recognize as you're getting it in your hands for the first time, like those reflective surfaces. And then you have Zaratsu polishing, which I think has become this buzzword. This case is almost entirely Zaratsu polish, so it's just polish everywhere. Sometimes you'll see the alternating facets that you'll find in some of the other cases like the 44 GS or a 62 GS. This is more just traditional polish. And we hear about this word all the time, and it's like, all right, it's just distortion-free polishing. But even the technique of how they're able to do this, if you've seen how like a Swiss have a polishing wheel, it's more of a surface that is a little bit softer. They're usually polishing from side to side, hitting the case. If you see Zaratsu happening, it's just this vertical hard disc that's rotating, and they're just going in and out. So it's like a hard surface on a hard surface, and that's how they're able to get this distortion-free look. So it's a totally different process in which they're going at this. I adore this watch. It doesn't maybe appeal to the same elements that so many people might associate with Grand Seiko, but under $5,000 for a piece like this, GMT, getting some of these common ideas that have become synonymous with Grand Seiko, I think it's really hard to beat.
I love the sort of extra sort of printed numerals there, with the ivory of the dial. It feels kind of like bookish, like you said, cerebral. It kind of feels a little bit kind of studious or academic or something. I think I'd feel clever wearing this watch. There's this kind of elegance and studious nature to it, which I really, really love.
Wildcard. Okay, so this is an independent brand, and I, again, don't think enough people recognize what this brand is because they hear this name. I think people give them a hard time for just the brand name, Formex. For some reason, people just can't get over that name, but I think this is one of the cooler little in-the-know type of brands if you're familiar with what they're able to do. So I have the Essence. This is the malachite dial version. So the Essence was basically the watch that helped kind of create this new resurgence for this brand. They've been around since like the late 1990s, which is kind of strange, but they've been able to kind of regain this momentum thanks to this watch. It's more of their integrated looking watch. It's not really integrated, but how it forms to the case with that bracelet is very unique, and it kind of follows that DNA that you'd find with some of these integrated steel sports watches and high horology of the sorts. But one thing I want to call attention to with Formex is, so their founder, Rafael Bernito, or at least their owner right now, is also connected with his family to be a major player in small components and parts. The company's name is Dexel. So they produce these highly specialized parts, bracelets, components of this sort for brands in the Swiss industry. So they have all this know-how in producing these parts and now have been able to take Formex to be this playground of sorts where they can try out all these different patented systems and bracelet functionality. Finishing wise, I mean, this is a phenomenally done watch. I mean, you handle this in person, all the links are so well done. This piece also has a case suspension system, which some will argue might be a little bit of a gimmick. I have found that it is also kind of useful if you are somebody that swells up during the time of year and you want to just kind of, if you're turning your wrist, it gives you a bit more of relief there. But this is a patented idea. So the case will actually extend up the central dial capsule from the outer shell of the case. Really weird and unique. 100 meters of water resistance. You now have different case size to choose from within the broader Essence collection. This one I'm looking at here is 39 millimeters. And you're also getting this precious stone malachite dial that looks great with kind of this line surface. And you don't usually see this kind of precious stone found in a watch of this price segment. You're getting it under $2,000. These cases are being produced by them because of this insider knowledge that they have and having the manufacturing capabilities to do it. This is a watch that's probably produced more in-house than a lot of mainstream brands are doing. So just want to give them a shout. And I think it's a phenomenal finish watch from top to bottom.
I think you're absolutely right about the name. I think when I hear the name Formex, I think of fitwear for yoga mums, which is unfortunate. But nevertheless, the people who have bought these watches become the biggest ambassadors before them because they feel like, I need to get the word out about this thing. This is amazing. The quality of this is fantastic. And so for the price point as well, especially here, that beautiful stone dial is really quite something. Well wildcarded. And unfortunately, that brings us to the end of your pitches. Now you're going to have to sit there and listen to our crappy pitches in comparison. Tom, where are you going with your sports watch?
Strange new places. So for our increased budget, I'm actually going to keep it on the lowdown and go for a Seiko. But not really, actually, because probably this is the most expensive Seiko you can get. So this is the Prospex Marine Master 1965 reinterpretation diver. They love to reinterpret a 1965 diver over at Seiko. And this is the Marine Master version. 3 different dial variations: clear water blue, dark water black, and high water white. That one's limited to 1,000 pieces. Inspired by both the first Japanese diver from 1965 and the Seiko Marine Master from the 2000s. But this is top tier Seiko. This is their flagship dive watch, and there's just loads of exquisite details in there. For a diver, it's just got some really, really nice touches. So straight away, you might notice the horizontal line patterned dial with the brush texture there. And you've got a lovely brush steel case, but the edges of the case and bezel are mirror finished. So it gives it this really nice brilliance, as is the ellipse-shaped links of the bracelet. Really nice, comfortable-looking bracelet there as well. But the coolest thing, I think, is this is the first see-through case back in the history of Seiko divers. So you can see inside and see the very beautifully finished high-performance mechanical movement, the Slimline Caliber 6L37, which, according to Seiko, makes the Marine Master the thinnest mechanical diver's watch currently around. At 12.3 millimeters. I haven't verified that, but I'll take their word for it. And it's actually a really handsome movement as well. It looks beautifully finished, lots of brushed plates and bridges and things in there. So yeah, really, really cool. 39.5 millimeters, 200 meters of water resistance, and just shy of £3,000. That's £2,990 for probably, arguably one of the best Seiko divers out now. So yeah.
Seiko have certainly done a really good job of taking the Seiko brands, King Seiko brands, Grand Seiko, and overlapping them in a very confusing way, where you can have cheaper Grand Seikos than Seikos, and those Seikos can have a higher level of finishing than the entry Grand Seikos, so on and so forth. You have to do your research to really understand what's best to get. Tom, give us your dress watch.
Okay, cool. Right, so might be overlapping slightly categories here, but I've gone for the newish Tag Heuer Carrera Date, not this year's Carrera, the box crystal one, the Carrera Date. So it looks a little bit sporty, but I think it's universal enough to be a dress watch. And a bit more every day as well, but it's got some quite nice sort of showy features there that give it an air of elegance. So like this particular one has a nice silver sunray brush dial, and rhodium plated hands and markers. So very elegant kind of touches there, and the applied Tag Heuer Shield logo I think is a cool detail, which is pretty neat. It makes you run faster. At 39 millimeters in diameter, it's nice and compact, and you can get it on this lovely black alligator strap. And you too, Andrew, can look just like Ryan Gosling with that.
It has been said.
Yes, lots of other things have been said as well. Inside is the high-performance manufacture caliber 5 automatic movement, which looks very nice on display through the sapphire case back. So yeah, I just think it's just a really nice universal watch from Tag Heuer. Obviously, kind of the Carrera name is a little bit sporty, but I think this is quite elegant. But yeah, this is a really cool watch. Sub £3,000, so £2,700 for this one.
I'll let you know, Tom, that I have been told I look like Ryan Gosling, but from the film All Good Things, where he played murderer Robert Durst.
Okay.
Tom, your wild card, please.
Okay. For my wild card, I've gone for the Anordain Model 1. Anordain being the Scottish watchmaker famous for their in-house enamel dials. And this particular one is one I've chosen is the Japanese Oxblood Red. So there are lots of lovely punchy colours to be had in the Model 1 range, but the Oxblood Red is very punchy indeed. Anordain says this resonant oxblood carries heft and impact, enhancing the pink minute track and silver numerals. They don't mention oxblood is very rich in iron and a great ingredient in hangover soup. So if you are feeling a bit woozy, maybe give the dial a little lick, and that might perk you up a bit. Not a guarantee, but anyway. But yeah, really, really exquisite dials, just handmade. I think that, the minimum they take to produce a dial, from the brass stamp to the printing of the numerals is I think it's a minimum of about 12 hours. So yeah, really intensive. They've got very experienced enamelers there, working out of Glasgow. You can see it says vitreous enamel on the dial there, which sounds really cool. So that's a USP that has definitely won me over. The printed numerals are also inspired by the print on old maps of the Highlands. Again, that's another USP. That's a belter. The sapphire crystal has 6 layers of anti-reflective coating, so the sun won't obscure your enjoyment of the dial. Solita movement inside, and 3 sizes available, from a small 35mm to a large 41mm. I've gone for everyone's favourite medium, 38mm in diameter, which is £1,750. I'd absolutely love to add an enamel watch to my collection, and I think if you're thinking about that, Anordane is the place to go. Really, really exquisite timepieces, beautiful craft. Lovely watches.
I think you've been channeling your inner Mr. Wonderful there, Tom. Been taking some advice from Teddy on that choice. I mean, if you can get one, I think the waiting list is how long now? Counted in centuries?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, sure.
That's the rub of going the process of enamel. Just it's harder to scale that production. I'm sure the good people of Anordane also appreciate you telling everybody to lick their dials. So,
yeah, not covered by the warranty.
Well, it comes round to me to pitch my $10,000 collection here, and I'm going to start off in the sporty side with an updated version of a watch that I once had, the Oris Divers 65, a great vintage throwback piece to, unsurprisingly, 1965, here now with the caliber 400 as well. So watches from the 1960s often had these skinny bezels. Modern ones often have thicker ones, which is perhaps a more practical choice, but from an aesthetic standpoint, having that really big dial is very, very pleasing. It's got the riveted bracelet. Some people may not like that, but for £2,950, you're coming in underneath Teddy's coveted Black Bay 58, but you still get that in-house movement, you still get the vintage diver throwbacks. Put all these ingredients together and basically you just get a watch that's not really seen that much anymore. Between this and the Longines Legend Diver, which both used to be the vintage throwback dive watches of choice, the Tudor's taken that mantle, and I think this could start to claw some of that back again.
Public service announcement, or maybe just a call to action that we don't always need a time-lapse bezel on a dive watch. I think some of this could be thought about. This is a point where you can easily change and diversify without spending a ton of money and make it a bit different. So I applaud the fact that they decided to do something like this. It's usable, very usable, add some additional function.
But on behalf of the customer, Teddy, I would say, what if I need to stand near a pool and might fall in and need to time how long I'm in there for in minutes? Oh, the tragedy. You're absolutely right. This is a far more practical usage of these kinds of watches, to be honest. And you've got the choice too. For my dress watch, we're back with Longines. Yes. We're definitely not being paid by Longines to talk about them in this video because we don't have to, because the watches are actually phenomenal. This is the Master Collection something or other. They don't really seem to have given it a title, but the watch really speaks for itself because it has those delicious engraved numerals, it has those lovely leaf hands, and in this particular combination it has a grey dial with rose gold numerals. It looks absolutely phenomenal, and it's, I think, a very, very underrated watch in the collection of, as we discussed earlier, a very, very underrated brand.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I kind of think of it as like a geode, where like it's just like a rock and they've just chiseled out that outer crust and revealed the beautiful liquid rose gold inside. It's gorgeous. I love it. It looks amazing. And I don't know if you guys are on the webpage, but it seems to be like a popular choice with henchmen.
Huh. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. Looks cool though. I love that look.
I've never been assassinated by someone so handsome in all my life.
If you're trying to fight your way to the kingpin through a restaurant that serves exclusively exotic meats, then you'll probably have to fight this guy on the way. But yeah, that's cool.
Oh, well. To top all that off is my Wildcard, and if you were to see my Wildcard, you might think, Andrew, have you lost the plot? That is the most standard watch I've ever seen. But the Wildcard aspect of this Grand Seiko SBGP 013 isn't just that it's really hard to say, it's that it's a quartz. Grand Seiko can come in at quite pricey. It's becoming more and more so these days, but that doesn't mean that you can't still have access to a really generous helping of all of that lovely Zaratsu polishing and general dial finishing for a lot less. That isn't to say that I overspent on my other two watches and started to run out of money as I got towards $10,000. But it is to say that if you go quartz with Grand Seiko, you can still enjoy an awful lot of very, very nice Japanese watchmaking. And I would even go so far as to say that the quartz is also a really, really good thing to own from Grand Seiko. Their 9F calibers aren't just your run-of-the-mill, throw it in the back, £10 jobby. They are proper high-quality movements. Made alongside the spring drive movements, same people using the same techniques, same attention to detail, same fastidiousness, but you just quartz. There's just no mainspring. Instead, you have a battery. And they even go so far as to hand wind the coils. So they're very, very neat. They grow their own crystals, which we all did as kids, but they're actually doing it for reasons of productivity. You package that all up together, £2,450 for a watch with the finishing that probably would rival somewhere between JLC and AP. No word of a lie, I'm not even exaggerating. These things are exceptionally finished. I challenge you to find a better finished watch for this price point. There endeth my sermon.
Amen. I agree with much of what you're saying. And when you look at Grand Seiko, the way you look at it, most brands, you think about it by collections of models. For Grand Seiko, how I would say and suggest to look at their structure of the brand is you look at inside out. You look at the calibers first. You have your 9F quartz, you have your 9R and your spring drive movements, and then you have their mechanical movements. But this is an important pillar of what they do. And the 9F is not just your run-of-the-mill, as you mentioned, Andrew, like movement. This is plus or minus 10 seconds a year, harvesting their own quartz crystal. I know you're not going to see it, but it also looks quite nice for a quartz if there is such a thing. I mean, if you looked at these movements, they are decorated to a degree. That is not why you buy a quartz watch, but you're also mentioning the Zaratsu polishing. You're getting some of this case finishing technique that's being done in the Shinshu Watch Studio that you'll find with some of their higher end pieces too. So for around $3,000, we're getting conversions all, over the place here, but that's where it kind of falls for us. Phenomenal value.
It's basically a Kodo for Tudor Black Bay money. That's what I'm going to say there.
That's a bold claim.
Well, there you go. A whole bunch of watches for a whole bunch of price points in a bunch of different collections. Whose did you prefer? Let me know how well I did down in the comments below. And if you haven't heard of Teddy Baldassar before, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you got here without knowing, but go search him on YouTube, everywhere else. Go buy watches from his shop too. It's Teddy Baldassar with all the S's and all the R's. I'm sure you'll find it. Thank you so much, Teddy, for joining us and engaging in this fun romp of watch collectivity. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Always enjoyed it. It was great seeing you both. Thank you for finding the time in the busy holiday season. Merry Christmas to you both. Happy holidays, and hope to see you guys very soon.
You too.
Likewise. Thank you very much. And thank you, dear viewer and listener too. Goodbye.